So you're probably asking yourself, do you need a car in New York City? The quick answer to this question is going to be no. You definitely don't need a car. Now, you don't need a car if you live in northern Brooklyn. If you live in Manhattan, of course, you definitely don't need a car in Manhattan. If you live in like West Queens, even if you live in the Bronx, you can definitely get away with public transportation. Now, Staten Island specifically, you definitely need a car there. I would not suggest moving to Staten Island without a car. Maybe unless you're like right outside of the ferry terminal, that's the only way you could probably get away without having a car. But in New York City as a whole, you can move to New York City without a car. I don't want you to think that you have to bring your car to New York City. Now, I do have a car in New York City, but I didn't always have a car in New York City. And I got away for a while without having one, and it was actually much easier when I didn't have a car. So I would suggest if you can get away with not having one, don't bring a car to New York City. There are people who want to move to New York City with a car because they're the type of people who don't like the idea of not having a vehicle with them. And I actually know a lot of people who felt like this when moving to New York City. I was not one of them though. I loved not having a car. If you do have a car in New York City, say if you live in Manhattan, you're going to either have to pay a ridiculous amount to park that car, or you're going to have to do street parking, which can be an absolute pain, and you might also just be spending all this ridiculous money on parking tickets, which everybody who has ever had a car in New York City knows how ridiculous New York City is with parking tickets. So it can be more of a pain than helpful. So there are some situations where people do need a car for work, or they don't work in the city, so they need a car to be able to get out of the city. So those are very specific situations, but as a whole, I do not recommend bringing a car to New York City unless you have one of those particular situations. Now, even if you want to get outside of the city, if you want to go to Long Island, if you want to go to the Hudson Valley, Jersey, or Connecticut, you can easily get to any of those areas by train. And even with Uber and Lyft nowadays, it's so easy to even get away with just getting a car or requesting a car from one of those train stations to get anywhere else. So I definitely think that you should not bring a car to New York City unless you have a specific reason why. And I would love to hear from you guys about your experience with cars in New York City. If anyone has had a car in New York City, or if anyone has any parking hacks, I would love to hear it because, as always, I love hearing from you guys.